Okay, I think we're still seeing a few people kind of straggle in, but I figure it's just a minute past 2, so we will go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you guys all so much for joining us for this webinar. We are super excited to be walking you all through this. My name is Rachel Nobles. I am an account executive and ad strategist with GroundTruth. And then my partner today is Nicole Genter. She's the Senior Manager of Marketing Insights with GroundTruth as well. So like I mentioned, we're super excited. We are going to be discussing how to kind of make data-driven decisions that are going to guide all of your reopening strategies. I know reopening has been a big topic with everything going on. Most areas of the country are now in, phase 2 through 5 of their reopening plan. So we figured this was kind of a timely and relevant subject to broach. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. So first thing, I wanted to go through a quick agenda with you guys. The plan on this webinar today is first we're going to go through a quick kind of GroundTruth overview. Hopefully most of you on the call have a pretty good understanding of GroundTruth and what it is that we do and how we do it. But just in case, we're going to do a quick kind of walkthrough that gets everybody up to speed. From there, we're going to walk through a reopening strategy playbook, and we're going to specifically focus on the tools that we think are going to be most relevant for reopening tactics. So that includes our audiences, creatives, and also different zones that you can target. Next thing that we're going to cover is cross-device targeting and how that can be super relevant and helpful in your go-to-market strategy. Then we're going to walk through Ads Manager, and we're going to do an Ads Manager setup. This is not going to be a basic level Ads Manager setup. If you have never seen a demo or you're not familiar with the platform yet, I would highly encourage you to go back through and either contact one of your dedicated account executives for a demo, or you can go through and watch one of our webinars that are already posted on YouTube that walk through the basics of Ads Manager. And then Nicole is going to walk us through the foot traffic tracker, and she's going to get everybody up to speed on how to use it and how to really kind of customize it to get the insights that are relevant for your business and your region. And last but not least, we will have a Q&A. So as you have questions as you go, please make sure that you're actually entering in your questions into the Q&A section in this Zoom meeting instead of the chat. That's where we're going to keep track of all the questions. So if you put them all in there, we'll make sure that they're not missed and that we're able to address everything that comes through. A couple of quick housekeeping items. So all participants are muted. That just makes everybody's lives easier so that there's no, kind of background noise and everybody can stay focused. Like I mentioned already, all your questions will be submitted through the Q&A chat button, and we'll address those at the end. If you have any follow-up questions or anything specific to your business, I'd really encourage you to also reach out to either Ad Expert at GroundTruth if you don't have a dedicated account executive or platform specialist, or reach out to your account executive and really kind of get a more dedicated, specific, kind of approach to what it is that you're looking to do. Lastly, we're going to have a poll that goes out that we really encourage you to fill out. It's going to be immediately after this webinar ends. We hope that you'll take a few minutes at the end and just kind of fill it out and give us some feedback. Help us help you, essentially, and do better. Okay, so now that we have covered all of that, we will go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so first, a quick background on GroundTruth. So we are a mobile location marketing solution. What that essentially means was that we are enabling you to reach people 100% based off of their physical location, as opposed to any kind of like digital or online behaviors. So within that, we're enabling you to reach people on their mobile phones. We are actually on 2 out of 3 of every mobile users on a monthly basis, so we've got a pretty wide reach. We are within that, in kind of the location space, we are also tracking visits back to brick and mortar locations, which is kind of that holy grail in offline attribution. So to date, we've tracked about 20 billion unique visits on an annual basis back to blueprinted locations in our platform. And we're consistently adding new blueprints. We typically add around 200,000 new blueprints every month. And last but not least is something I really want to highlight is our accuracy. So it's great to report on visits, but how do you know that it's accurate? What we do here at GroundTruth is we go through a third-party validated accuracy audit every year, and we actually publish our results. We're the only third-party validated partner that publishes those results, which I think speaks volumes and really kind of leads to the fact that not only are we reaching the right people, tracking visits so that you know whether your ad had a true effect and a value. And then you can also rest assured that our reporting is very accurate and up to date as well. So a little bit more into kind of how we do what we do in our technology, what kind of goes into ensuring that you're reaching the right people. The first and foremost kind of most important piece of this puzzle is place determination. And we do this using our blueprints. Our blueprints is our proprietary technology that's used to map and contextualize the physical real world. So you can see on this image here, this is actually what a blueprint looks like. We've got an in-store layer, which is what you see here in green. We've got the parking lot layer, which is the parking lot that's associated with that particular store location. And then last is the retail block. So if a brick and mortar location sits within a retail block, then we'll also have that mapped out as well. We have blueprinted every major retailer in the US, and we're actively adding additional points of interest. Like I mentioned in the earlier slide, we're adding 200,000 blueprints every month. So if it's a major retailer, it's already done. If you are a smaller business with a brick and mortar location and you're wondering if we can blueprint your location to track visits, the answer is yes. So the next piece of the puzzle is location determination. And that is coming from our patented algorithm that's used to understand GPS signals from mobile phones. So that really contextualizes, okay, these are the locations that they're found, and also the GPS signals that verify and determine the locations and the accuracy there. And then last but not least is that visit determination. So once we match the signals to places, we are going to decide whether a visit actually occurred, and that's going to be at the in-store level. So with all of our technology and our blueprints, and then everything that happened with COVID, we really saw a need to develop a super accurate foot traffic tracker that our users could use to kind of determine what does footfall look like right now, what areas are seeing increased foot traffic due to different phase reopenings, which industries are seeing higher level footfalls than others. So with all of our technology, we developed our foot traffic tracker, which is just a screenshot of kind of everything that you can do. You can break it out the national level, the weekly level, and then of course you see to the right, you can break it out by industry. Nicole's gonna take us through a much deeper dive, but this is kind of just a snapshot of our foot traffic tracker and how you can use some of this data and kind of correlate it to the locations in the industries that you serve to come up with a really solid database reopening strategy, which is our goal for the purpose today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we went ahead and put together a reopening strategy playbook. The goal here is to help you guys understand current consumers' visitation patterns and preferences to help strategically communicate to and also influence your target audience. And we are going to now get into how we're going to do that and kind of why this matters. So first and foremost, let's talk through shopper impact. I don't think that any business or region of the US or really worldwide can say that COVID-19 hasn't had an effect on the shopping impact. Spending from March to May really focused on necessities like everyday household goods. Everybody remembers the great toilet paper shortage that happened in those earlier months. Groceries, healthcare and housing, and then categories that were maybe not so necessary like clothing and apparel and then travel saw less spend overall. So with shifts in behavior, intent, and action, businesses have really had to adjust pretty quickly in order to strategically position themselves to meet their customers' evolving needs. So, we're really trying to provide you guys with behavioral data that's going to help you better understand how and when to connect with your right audiences. Along with changes in buying behavior, there have been really massive increases in media consumption patterns. So during the shelter at home period, adults have spent 70% more time on their smartphone each day. Now, I really want to spend some time here because this is huge. 70% more time on their phones each and every day. If you think about this, it really makes sense because for a while there, when shelter in place orders were at their strictest, people's phones were kind of the best way to connect them to the outside world. If you look at the data to the right, 7 hours and 31 minutes average time that was spent with digital media. So I think this is really important to note because while some people might have viewed mobile in a football capacity as not as important these days, I would venture to say that this number right here speaks differently. If you are not getting out in front of your target audience at the mobile level while they're sitting at home, playing games on their phone, watching TikTok, I'm guilty of that, reading the Wall Street Journal, you're missing out on a huge, huge, huge opportunity to connect with your target audience. Within that, we saw a 9% increase in time spent watching TV. I don't think this is a huge surprise here. I think that TV was probably already a little high to begin with. But still, I think that it's really important to note these changes in media consumption patterns as well to really kind of tailor and hone in on your reopening strategy. So now that we've kind of talked through behavior and media consumption changes, let's talk through how to use our data to really develop a solid reopening strategy for your business. So the first tactic that I think is going to be most important is utilizing our location-based audiences within a platform. Our location-based audience are one of the most effective and efficient ways to get in front of your ideal audience. With our new 180-day look-back window, you don't need to start from scratch, which is the beauty of it. You're able to capture people kind of pre-COVID levels that were visiting particular locations and still target your relevant audience. In addition to that, I think this is also a really great opportunity to find new audiences to reach. So if you think about your competitor, you guys are both kind of starting at the same level. You're kind of rethinking and restarting. So this could be a really great opportunity to capitalize on some competitor loyalists, and that you might have not been able to reach pre-COVID, which I think could be a really cool opportunity to kind of gain that market share. Lastly, I wanted to mention we have the ability for you to upload custom lists. So let's say that you had a list of residential addresses of all of your existing and past customers that you wanted to communicate new business operations updates to. That this could be a great opportunity to utilize these custom lists and further engage and drive your already relevant target audience further down the funnel, back to your brick and mortar location, which will hopefully result in sales. Within location-based audiences, we've got several different ways to do this. The two that are most relevant are going to be behavioral audience segments and brand-based audience segments. So behavioral is taking in real-world visitation patterns and kind of marrying it together with demographic data. So a few examples of behavioral audience segments that you could use depending on what's most relevant to your business would be auto intenders or end market for auto, millennials, Hispanics, luxury retail shoppers, department shoppers. The list really goes on as far as behavioral goes. We also have brand loyalists. So reaching people who have visited specific brands within, it used to be the past 90 days, but now with our new 180-day look back window, it's still that relevant, accurate audience segment. So you can reach people that have been to a Starbucks or a Home Depot, been to a BMW dealership or Walmart within the past 180 days. Next thing that you're really going to want to do is you need to cater your creatives. This is where the foot traffic tracker, I think, is going to really come in. It's going to enable you to tailor your message to reach key audiences based on recent movement patterns that are gathered from the foot traffic tracker. So for example, you can use data that you gather from the foot traffic tracker and couple location audiences that frequent a specific retailer or location that fall into higher movement areas. So basically locations where, they're kind of back and moving almost close to pre-COVID levels. So you can really target shoppers who are most likely to come shop in store during this time. And then similarly, you can also target those who maybe typically visit your store in person, but currently fall into those low movement areas. And you can cater your messaging to, things focused on like delivery options, contact-free delivery, bringing the products directly to them. One thing I want to note here is within creatives, it is super important to stay consistent when developing your messaging. So whether your goal is communicating the new way that your business is operating, so whether it's curbside pickup, mask requirements, new operating hours, what have you, or you really want to push store visits to quickly drive sales, just make sure that your website and all of your advertising messages across all platforms are well aligned and constantly kept up to date. I think this is really important, especially just as things are constantly a moving target these days. So just something to note. A couple of examples of catering your creatives are here. So areas where you fall into the higher movement segments, you can really focus your creatives on some in-store messaging, kind of highlight products that they can find in store, mention how far they are away, that kind of thing. What you can do for locations where you're still ramping back up to normal levels and aren't quite there, you can highlight grocery or order pickup or curbside pickup. Something interesting to note here is that 35% of shoppers tried click and collect for the first time either in 6 months or ever. So I don't know, about you guys, if you guys have ever utilized this. It's a really convenient way to get your things. So this could be something to keep in mind if you notice that the locations that your business falls in are still kind of ramping up and mostly fall under that pickup location segment. And then last but not least is for those low movement areas, really focus on that delivery, kind of contact-free, buying online delivery. I've utilized that myself. I have to say it's been so convenient. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I'm sure I will. But just something to think about when you're thinking about how to develop your creatives and what's going to land most with your target audience in the areas that you serve. Next thing that I think could be super important to utilize is pickup and delivery zones. Now this is going to allow you to reach audiences who fall within your pickup and delivery residential zones. So GroundTruth, we can specifically reach pockets of residential areas that are made up of consumers that have a high visitation frequency of visiting a particular store or location. So what that would enable you to do is really understand the trade areas where your consumers frequent. And it just enables you to come up with a smarter, well-developed marketing plan. So what this would do is it would really kind of target like hyper-local residential pockets where people can either come to your location for pickup, or maybe they typically visit your competitor locations. And again, you want to try to gain some of that market share. You can also, reach people that are in your delivery and pickup zones through neighborhood targeting, and then also unlock key residential neighborhoods that show high visitation frequency to your location that maybe you're not already using. Maybe you didn't know that people typically traveled from there to your store, and that's something that you can utilize as well. In a recent poll, 71% of respondents said that they were extremely likely or very likely to order pickup or delivery from a restaurant in the next 2 weeks. So something to think through, especially if you are, in that restaurant industry, is thinking through, how to meet your target audience where they're at and where their comfort levels lie. Last but not least, within your targeting strategy for reopening is considering leveraging a cross-device targeting tactic. What this essentially means is you're going to be going beyond mobile and extending your reach through both desktop and connected TV to really amplify that message. So going back to what I mentioned in a prior slide about 70% increase in mobile usage, that's a lot of content. That's a lot of, kind of information that people are constantly reading through. So now more than ever, an omni-channel advertising strategy is going to be really key in engaging your consumers at the right time with the relevant messages. So you're going to be able to target audiences in mobile app, desktop, and connected TV who are either actually visitors of your brand's locations or your competitors using GroundTruth's blueprint technology. This is going to just really amplify your message. You're going to target the same users across mobile devices, or you can just kind of pick and choose whichever mediums make the most sense for you and your business. But this is where the real value comes in, is the ability to specify where you'd like to drive your users to. So whether the goal is an online conversion or you really want to track these users back to your brick and mortar location, you can do all of that desktop, CTV, and mobile app through visit tracking and kind of tie them all together, which is where the real key value lies. Okay, now that we've kind of gone through some reopening strategies and which tactics are going to be the most relevant when developing, we're going to go ahead and take it into Ads Manager. We're going to walk through a campaign setup for both restaurant and retail, and kind of how to think through different tactics and how to utilize them in the best way in the platform. And then once we wrap up there, I'm going to hand it over to Nicole, and she's going to walk you through the foot traffic tracker, and then we'll go on to questions. So, okay. This is our Ads Manager platform. Like I mentioned before, if you've never seen the platform before and you have no idea how to start with a basic level campaign setup, I do highly encourage you to, like I mentioned, either connect with an account executive that can walk you through a demo, or go back and watch some of our webinars that talk you through kind of the basics of Ads Manager one-on-one. The first thing that we're going to look at is a retail targeting tactic that's going to be focused specifically on reopening strategies. So for this example, I went ahead and built out a campaign for Nordstrom Rack. So Nordstrom Rack is going to be the example that we're going to use. And as you can see, we have built out 3 different targeting tactics. We've done proximity, we've done neighborhood targeting, and then we've done audiences. So let's actually take a look at the audience campaign setup first. For this example, we are actually focusing on the Nordstrom Rack in the Nordstrom Rack stores in the Chicago, Illinois DMA. So all of the stores that are going to be reopening post-COVID shutdown. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to target by audiences. And this is going to utilize behavioral and brand loyalist audience segments that are most relevant to our business. So a couple of examples for Nordstrom Rack are discount shoppers, department shoppers, millennials, working moms, Nordstrom brand loyalists, and also Nordstrom Rack brand loyalist. A couple of things that you could do in addition here is if you had some competitors that you wanted to go up against and really try to kind of conquest some of their business, that would be a really great opportunity to add in some competitor audience segments here as well for your targeting tactic. From there, I went ahead and applied a Chicago, Illinois DMA overlay. Because I'm only focusing on the reopening tactics for the Nordstrom Rack stores within the Chicago DMA, which there are about 6 of those currently. Next thing that I set up is I really want to track visits back to these Nordstrom Rack stores. So I want to get a feel for, okay, how many people did I serve an ad to? And then as a result, how many people actually came back and visited my store? And so that's where this setup is going to take place, where you specify your drive to destination for ad group measurement. If you don't have a brick and mortar location, and maybe you just really want to push those online sales, then maybe you're not quite ready to reopen yet and you want to continue to drive online sales, you can leave it to no drive to location. Conversion will occur online. If you ever wanted to get specific with demo overlays, you have the option to do so here. You can get specific by gender, household income, ethnicity, and age range if you think it's going to be relevant for your target market. You can choose what you want to optimize towards. So what's going to be the main goal? Is your main goal to target as many people in those audience segments that are relevant for your business and really build up that brand awareness and therefore drive them back to your store? If that's the goal, then I'm going to say that you want to optimize towards delivery. If you more want them to maybe click on your ad and visit the website, maybe download a coupon, something of that nature, then you can optimize towards the click. SAR is a secondary action rate, which is relevant when you use our customizable landing page under ad creatives. Conversion is an e-commerce conversion, and then visit is that physical visit back to that brick and mortar location. But again, to kind of really reach as many people as possible in your target audience, we do typically recommend that you start an optimization strategy. Last but not least on this page I want to cover is building out a retargeting audience. Now this is huge. I highly, highly recommend that everybody always build out a retargeting audience, even if you are not sure you're going to use it. I always say it's better to have it and not need it than to want it and not have it. So what this is doing is this is capturing everybody that you're initially serving an ad to into an audience segment that you can then use to re-engage and re-message those same people down the road. Next, we are going to get into our ad creative segment. So for this specific creative example, I went with a we're open approach since the goal is tracking visits back to that physical brick and mortar location. So the goal for this creative specifically is just to communicate to people, hey, we're open. You know, if you're interested in spring cleaning, you know, whatever that may be, come shop now. And you can really kind of tailor your creatives to either whatever products you want to push in store, or you can really utilize that curbside pickup option if that's something that's going to be relevant for your business. And then last but not least is your budget and scheduling page. You'll enter in your minimum CPM here, which is $3.50. You'll set your time frame and then decide on an estimated budget given you know, kind of how long you want to run and, you know, what kind of budgets you want to allocate for your reopening strategies and goals. So that is a quick overview of our audience setup. The next thing that I want to take a look at is that neighborhood targeting. Now, neighborhood targeting is going to be used for those delivery zones and kind of visitation zones for pickup, that kind of thing. So within neighborhood targeting, you are enabling yourself to serve ads to the residential areas that have a high visitation frequency of visiting your particular store or location. So I did a neighborhood targeting tactic that's targeting the Nordstrom Rack location neighborhoods. This is just enabling you to reach people in different points in their buying journey and just kind of really honing in and focusing on the people that would typically visit because they live nearby or in the areas where it makes sense to drive to the stores. So we did this through a neighborhood setup. We're targeting all the neighborhoods around the Nordstrom Rack. And again, focusing on the Chicago, Illinois DMA, because that's the locations that we're focused on. Once again, you know, we're driving visits back to our stores. We always build out our retargeting audience. And then our creative for this example is going to be the same. But if you ever wanted to get specific by targeting tactic, maybe you wanted to focus on the neighborhood targeting for pickup, you know, curbside pickup, then you can always change your creatives by targeting tactic if that's what's going to make the most sense for your business. And then last but not least is the budget and schedule. So that's the setup for a neighborhood targeting for retail. And then last but not least is we are actually going to be looking at a proximity targeting tactic. Where what proximity essentially means is we are targeting people that are nearby your current brick and mortar location in real time. So just to kind of show you what that setup would look like, we are targeting all of Nordstrom Rack Chicago stores, and we're just reaching anybody and everybody within a mile radius of that store because we know they're nearby and we know that the likelihood that they could come back and shop and visit is high. And then everything else within proximity as far as setup, creatives, and budget and schedule is the same. So that's a quick example of what a retail targeting tactic would look like. The next thing that we are going to cover is restaurant targeting. So restaurant targeting is going to be similar, but also a little bit different. And it's really going to depend on your goals and your business and, you know, kind of what your current business operations look like. So for this example, I did Chick-fil-A. I'm in the South. Everybody here loves Chick-fil-A, so I thought this could be a great example to base some restaurant targeting around. So again, we are going to first look at some Chick-fil-A location audience segments. And I did a mix of both behavioral and brand loyalists. So Chick-fil-A breakfast is huge. Everybody loves that chicken biscuit. So I focused on morning risers and morning diners, and as well as morning quick service restaurant goers to really hone in on the people that within the past 180 days are typically going to those QSR restaurants to get breakfast. So the likelihood that they're going to come back and get breakfast from my Chick-fil-A store is high. I also did lunch diners because, lunch is a big rush for Chick-fil-A typically as well. Stay-at-home moms, when they are needing to go grab something to eat quickly for them or themselves or their kids. I also focused on Starbucks brand loyalists, again, kind of focusing on that breakfast play of people that are typically going out and visiting a Starbucks. I did my own brand loyalists. And then here's some examples of, some competitor conquesting that you could deploy for your retargeting strategy. Like I mentioned, I think this is a really cool opportunity to win some business that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to capture prior to COVID. Maybe you guys are opening, I don't know, a week before Popeyes. And so you really want to utilize and target these brand loyalists and also Pret A Manger. Using these audience segments is a great opportunity to do that. For this example, we are focusing on the Chick-fil-A stores within the Dallas-Fort Worth DMA. And then we are driving visits back to our Chick-fil-A Dallas locations. From there, the setup is similar. We're optimizing towards delivery. We're always building out our retargeting audience. But our creatives are going to be a little bit different. Because we aren't fully open, like, the restaurants aren't, at full capacity for sit-down dining, the goal here is really going to be to push that drive-through is open messaging. So, we built out a little bit of a different creative strategy, allowed for people to kind of locate their nearest Chick-fil-A within the Dallas DMA, and also they can see with the dynamic distance overlay how far away they are in real time to that Chick-fil-A. So that's an example of audience setup. Next thing that we are going to look at is that neighborhood targeting. And again, we're going to really focus on the pickup and delivery zones, so both your drive-through and delivery. So we are doing neighborhood audiences for Chick-fil-A locations within Dallas. And we're still going to drive visits back to our brick and mortar locations. And we're still utilizing our retargeting audience, as well as our messaging. For this example, you could push both drive-through and delivery, depending on what your goals are and where you really want to kind of see some business pickup, and really kind of drive that revenue for your business. Last but not least is the proximity targeting. So again, very similar to what we did with Nordstrom Rack. We're going to target everybody that is in real time within a mile radius of Chick-fil-A and trying to drive them back to our restaurant locations, which is going to just really, kind of try to drive people that are nearby and likely to visit. So that are some quick examples of how to set up and use the platform to, kind of strategize any type of reopening strategy that you're interested in deploying. So I hope you guys found that helpful. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I am going to turn it over to Nicole. And she is going to walk us through the foot traffic tracker and really, show you guys, like I mentioned, how to utilize it that's going to be relevant for your local area and your industry. So I am going to turn it over to Nicole and she will take it away.
Thanks, Rachel. And thanks again, everyone, for joining. Okay. So since we became aware of the pandemic in early March, you've probably seen many other companies, specifically location data companies, putting out consumer trend data. But what GroundTruth has built is a tracker to provide up-to-date foot traffic data on the COVID-19 impact on various industries that are specifically core to our business and clientele, which is all of you guys. So I'm going to walk through the tracker and some of its key features. You can access the tracker right now through our website. It's an insights section of the GroundTruth website, or it will be linked in the follow-up email after this webinar. So I hope you guys can all take a look at that after this. So you'll see you have to fill out a contact form once you click on the link. You're going to be directed to this page that you're seeing here. And once you put in these credentials that populate at the top, this is what you will view. So this is the tracker. And we have a few categories that automatically populate here. I've actually been looking at the Q&A, so I added auto dealerships and restaurant for you guys so you can see some of the data here. But before we start going through the data, I did want to point out that we do have a user guide feature here. So I know that it might be a little bit hard to understand some things in the data. We, go through what the index data means and how it was formulated and how to use the filter. So definitely check out this user guide if you are having trouble with anything, or you can reach out to us. But here is the tracker, which again is showing data starting from February 1st. You can change the date range in the filter settings at the top, which we'll go through briefly, but on the default, you're gonna see data starting from February 1st until current. So this is updated on a daily basis. And what you're viewing, the data is from the 30 billion annual visits that we see each year, and this is index foot traffic. So it's not raw visitation. So it's an index of pre-COVID, which we define as around the week of March 9th. So all of the days before March 9th are going to be indexed against the daily average for that time period. And then all of the days following March 9th are going to be indexed against a daily average over that time period. So that is the day over day foot traffic. And then if you scroll down, we also have two map views that can be pretty interesting. So the left view is showing all of the states' visitation indexed against each other. So you can see states like New York in red, meaning they have the lowest visitation as compared to some states that are bright green, where they are still seeing high visitation. So that's based on the categories that are selected, and it'll update once you change the filters. The right view will update once we put in a state or a set of zip codes, which I'll show you as well. So if you did just want to look at, say, auto dealerships, you can click on the other categories to remove them from view. I guess auto dealerships are closed on Sundays, so you see that dip each week. We did see the initial dip and starting to see some improvement here. I know I just actually bought a car over the weekend, so some of the dealerships were open, and the one we purchased from actually did it completely over the phone, which was very interesting. We also got a question about restaurants, and retail, which was definitely one of the harder hit industries that really, when the pandemic started, had to close their doors and couldn't even offer any takeout services. But we are starting to see some improvement in these categories. Home improvement was one category that, actually benefited, I would say, from the pandemic. They're seeing higher than ever foot traffic, actually 92% above average at some of their peak days. And, that's just natural as people are spending more time at home and working on their homes. And then I've also included gas and convenience, just because I think it's a really good indication of people's movement as they're driving more and, taking trips and whatever. So if you did want to change the view, up at the top is the filters. So we have about 32 different categories in the tracker. ranging from public places such as bars, parks and beaches, golf courses, to more business related places such as, dollar stores, grocery stores, liquor stores. So there's about 32 different categories there. You can change the state. So what you're seeing on a default is a national view. But I think what's really interesting is when you're able to put in your actual state or zip code of your clients and see what the movement patterns are. So the states are in this format. So you would just enter. If you wanted to look at a region, you could put all of, copy and paste all of the states that fall in the Northeast, and then you'd have a view of the Northeast movement. And then zip codes. We have all the zip codes available as well to get really granular with this data. And then the time period you could also change. So we have data starting from December 30th, 2019 up until the current time frame. So you can change to look at whatever you're interested in. So I did want to show an example of states. So if I wanted to look at New York, California, and Florida, just because they're 3 states that have, been affected quite differently from the pandemic. And just for time, you would press this reload data if you're using the tracker, but just for time purposes, I have it already loaded. So you'll see the view will change for the 3 states. And then if you go down to our map view, now we're really comparing the visitation just to these 3 states. So you'll see out of the 3, New York has the least movement and Florida has the most movement when compared to each other. And then if we wanted to put in our list of zip codes, what's really awesome about this is that you can literally copy a bunch of zip codes from Excel. So say you had a list of zip codes of maybe neighborhoods that your clients come from or customers or just areas that you need to target. You can copy and paste them into the tracker and press run. So again, I already did that. So I just used Miami-Dade as an example, completely random, and I wanted to look at parks and beaches to see, just because there's been a lot of controversy over opening, and I think they've opened and closed their beaches a few times over the past few months. And you can see here that on Memorial Day weekend, Miami did close their beaches, so we see that slight dip there, but I think they're starting to open again now. So we have all our zip codes in, so now this right-hand view map is more relevant because now the zip codes are being indexed against each other. So now you can see which zip codes are have more movement than others. So you can click on an area and see what zip code it is. You see in the city center a lot less movement than some of the zip codes on the outskirts of Miami. So this is just a public view of our foot traffic tracker. And so remember that we have, an infinite amount of data. We can pull this information for your specific brand, your one retail location or category if it's not one of the 32 that are already included in the tracker. So just reach out to us. We are going to include an email alias at the end of this presentation that you can reach out to, or your account executive, if you're already working with GroundTruth, can help you with access any of this data. And with that, I'm going to hand the mic back over to Rachel and we'll open it up for Q&A.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, Nicole. So we're going to go ahead and address all the answers that came in through the chat. If you think of any additional that come through as we're chatting, feel free to send them through and we're happy to answer them. So first question that I saw, it actually kind of goes along with the third question that I saw. So I went into self-serve ads manager and I'm not seeing desktop CTV options available yet. Has this launched? So it has launched. Where it stands today is you're going to have to reach out to your account executive directly for them to get access to you, to grant you access to be able to use both of those features. The next question about that was, can you do an omni-channel webinar to present best strategies now that this capability is coming online? And absolutely, you read our mind. I believe that's actually going to be our next webinar that we post and host. So please stay tuned for that. I think that's going to bring a lot of really, really valuable insights on how to kind of tie it all together and using the reopening strategies with, you know, the desktop and CTV. So definitely take a look at that. The next question I saw was, okay, so then now that infections are spiking, how have sit down and fast casual restaurants been faring in the foot traffic? I hope Nicole gave you a pretty good overview of what that looked like in the tracker specifically. But like she mentioned, if you have any more specific questions, reach out to us or your dedicated account executive, and we can help you take a little bit more of a customized approach in looking at the foot traffic tracker to better understand, you know, how that affects your business. Let's see. Visit optimization. Yes. So that is live. So if that's something that you are interested in using in the platform, again, reach out to your dedicated account executive and, you know, they'll be happy to walk you through it. And then foot traffic track for restaurants. Can we do? Okay. So Nicole, actually, this might be a question for you. It says on the foot traffic tracker for restaurants, can they delineate between sit down, fast casual, and QSR?
Yes. So we actually have QSR and restaurants separated out in the tracker. We don't have fast casual separated out from restaurant. It's included in that category. But again, this is just a public view. We didn't want to go too crazy, you know, with the categories, but we can absolutely look at any cut of the data that you'd want to on a custom level.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so question. So can we advertise to cannabis stores? Unfortunately, the answer for that is no. We will absolutely keep you updated if those regulations change and we're able to do that. But where things stand in our, you know, kind of compliance situation, unfortunately, we're not able to do that at this time. And then last question that I saw was, where do I access the foot traffic tracker? So at the end of this webinar, we are actually going to be sending over to you guys a follow-up email, and you'll be able to access the login and information to get into that foot traffic tracker. I think that covered all of the questions. If anybody has any additional questions, you know, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you much for joining us. I really enjoyed this. I hope that you guys got some value out of this and at least kind of got you thinking about how you might want to kind of strategize and target your ideal audience for reopening, whether that's now or, you know, further down the road. If you do have any follow-up questions, you can email directly at expert@groundtruth.com or always contact your direct account executive. And then last but not least, we sent through a poll. I really, really, really hope that you guys will take some time to fill it out before you log off today from the webinar. Like I said, it's going to help us help you. We're going to get better, and we can use this to kind of tailor all the webinar topics that we come up with down the road. So I hope you stay on and fill it out. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe and well, and reach out with any questions.